So I have a confession to make. While I firmly believe it's my formal education and work experiences that have helped shape the health professional that I am today at Nemours Children's Health System, I actually think I learned those key business lessons very early on, by age 5. You see, like many children growing up, I never had an appreciation for what my parents had instilled in me to shape my values and my beliefs. My parents immigrated here from China, barely spoke English, worked multiple jobs to give my brother and me everything that they could. It was through those trials, tribulations, and actions that I gleaned these business lessons. While they thought it was the pair of Chuck Taylors or the Rock and Roll Barbie or even the New Kids on the Block cassette tape that I so begged for because my cousins Emily and Winnie had it already, it was much simpler than that. Unbeknownst to them, the gift of key lessons in life was what I cherished most. Here's a picture of my mom and dad and me sitting in a New York City park bench, and I was age 5. I bring this picture up because it's a reminder of who the protagonists are in the next couple of minutes. Through life, we go through education systems attaining knowledge, high school, college, graduate school. I remember sitting in graduate school taking classes like leadership, power and influence, and negotiations. And then I realized there was a resonating theme to all of these courses, and that resonated with what we call, quote unquote, the immigrant hustle. Now, for those of you who don't know, the immigrant hustle means growing up in an immigrant household, doing whatever you could to make it in the most ethical manner while still trying to fit into this new country. The ironic thing is that my parents were not business professionals, they were not entrepreneurs. My dad was a waiter at a Chinese restaurant, and my mom was an office clerk managing supplies. Neither of them graduated from high school, but both of them worked hard to achieve what many immigrants in that day tried to achieve, which is the American dream. The American dream allowed them to live with political freedom, access equal rights, and have a better and safe life for themselves and for their families. Really, it's not that different from the American dream today. It's through that resolve that I gained lessons from them that helped shape me to who I am today. Simple as they are, they bring us back to basics and serve as reminders as to who we can be. The lessons are as follows. Number 1, hustle for what you want to achieve. Secondly, be humble always. Third, honor diversity. Fourth, embrace challenging but positive change. And last but not least, always anticipate the needs of others. Please allow me the next couple of minutes to share some of these lessons in the context of their stories. The first one is hustle for what you want to achieve. So my mother always taught me, never take anything for granted. Always achieve the goals by looking at every single opportunity with integrity, discipline, and accountability. Leaders know that every time we see an opportunity, we seize it, we own it, we are accountable to it. They came to the United States with a hard work and dedication mindset. They knew that deviation from this work ethic would be crippling and devastating. They knew that with this determination, they had to work hard. Why? Because it was much more than just a paycheck. And it's that lesson that they had taught me, that steely resolve, that continues to resonate in me today. I challenge my teams, myself included, to be able to have the hustle factor to achieve what we want to achieve. Every day I see this at the hospital when I walk into work. I see our Nemours associates having that same steely resolve that my parents did as they carry out the hospital's mission to be able to provide the best care possible for patients and families. Secondly, be humble always. My parents faced discrimination when they first came here at the hands of select Americans who were fearful and intolerant of their presence. Through it all, they continue to uphold ideals and freedoms that this great nation had to offer. We never took for granted anything, always appreciated everything we had. The meal on the table, the door that opened for us, and that unscathed humility is ingrained in me. At work, we see this as well. We see that humility. We see that humility in the providers that save our children's lives, to the frontline staff who help us execute and succeed on a project, to the janitorial technician who keeps our building safe and clean. They have everything to offer and nothing to prove. And that's how my parents taught me. And it's that humility and that recognition and respect for others that create a drive for continuous improvement that makes us better global citizens and human beings every single day. Third, honor diversity. So at a young age, I was taught that there's differences in this world. First, physical, that's visible, social, and cultural. And it's through those differences that I've learned that I have to keep an open mind. Because by keeping an open mind, I'm able to understand others. I'm able to break down barriers. What is that? Really, compassion. My parents had taught me to listen, to respect, to accept people from all walks of life, regardless of creed, religion, ethnicity, language, gender. You see, I was a very, very lucky girl. I grew up in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, New York City, where I was able to hang out with, go to school, cohabitate with people from all around the globe. Now, for those of you who don't know the Lower East Side of Manhattan, New York City, it's a beacon for immigrants. Jewish, Italian, Germans, Chinese, they all decided to build communities there. And it's that fabric of different cultures that makes this country so special. At work, we also honor diversity and inclusion. We do not form biases or judgments. We listen and we dialogue without judgment ever. We celebrate our differences because, after all, that's what makes us so unique. And we always offer dissenting opinions because we know cognitive diversity is also valued. Basically, we leverage our separate realities to optimize the differences that we have. And we all know that that respect for diversity and inclusion makes the best teams, the best people, and the most successful organizations. Next, embrace challenging but positive change. So change is inevitable. Change is a constant. I've learned that from my parents. What I've also learned is to be able to embrace change, to adapt to change, and also prepare for change. My parents came in 1963 to the US with nothing but a dream. They had no place to call home. They barely had any money. They didn't speak the language. And because of that, their employment opportunities were limited. In fact, many of the employers at the time hired immigrants at low wages, menial jobs. Through each twist and turn, my parents fought through that, and they were always grateful and fulfilled. At work, we see change all the time, whether it's a competitor building a children's hospital in the backyard to an economic downturn that causes a reduction in force. We as leaders need to embrace change with thoughtfulness and care, especially for those who are impacted. Again, taking the lesson that my parents had taught me, embrace change, adapt to change, and prepare for change. And that preparation leads me to my last and final lesson, anticipating the needs of others. You see, when I was a little girl, I remember my father coming home after a long day working in a Chinese restaurant, and he would tell me that we should always anticipate the needs of others and help them. In his case, it was loose change from his tip jar. While I was really excited to be able to use that change and contribute to my Barbie fund or my Chuck Taylor fund, it was not that. He said, Cindy, you must be able to use that change to see if somebody else needed it more. He shared that extra cup of coffee that a neighbor couldn't afford, or the extra loaf of bread that a family could probably use. And that has taught me a very, very key lesson in life. It's one thing to be able to answer and ask. It's another to be able to anticipate the need before someone else even vocalizes it. And at work, that translates into so many different forms. Whether it's helping a colleague who may be not feeling well or just doesn't have the bandwidth, to walking down the hospital corridors and seeing a family with complex children and helping them with wayfinding, because that way they can get to their appointments on time and have a much pleasant experience. Practically, when you think about it, anticipating the needs is really core to some of the business disciplines that we all practice, whether it's strategy, business development, growth, marketing, and communications. It's all about anticipating the needs of others. It's with that anticipation that we provide the best products and services to meet their demands. So my mom retired a couple of years ago. My dad retired last year. And during this transitional phase, we had a conversation about what would happen when they transitioned from this world. And they said to me, there's no trust fund or will with any material objects such as a car, a home, money. But we all agreed on one thing, and that is the best gift of all, the key lessons, the values, they've already been given to us and they're invaluable. Today, I got to share some of those lessons with you. It was my opportunity to thank them for the very first time in public for building that bridge from the past to the present. And it has allowed me to build my bridge from the present into the future by sharing some of those lessons with you and imparting them on my own two children. After all, we are all teachers at heart, and with the simplest concepts that are worth spreading, we do so. We create a profound impact on others, whether they be our children, our families, our colleagues, and our friends, for many years to come. Thank you.